Welcome to the mental health training for parents of teenage boys. I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that I am not a trained psychologist, therapist, or mental health professional. The insights and strategies I share in this presentation and in the full course are based on research, personal experience, and extensive work with parents and teenage boys. While these ideas are designed to help foster connection and understanding, they are not a substitute for professional mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If your son or family is experiencing significant mental health challenges, I strongly encourage you seek the support of a licensed mental health professional. My goal is to complement professional help by providing practical tools and a framework to support your parenting journey. So with that disclaimer out of the way, let's jump straight into the training. Welcome, everyone. Today I'm going to be putting together just a 30-minute training for you all for free inside of this group on the challenges that I see young men face when it comes to their mental health, but also solutions as well that we can go into today, but also in the full course that I'll talk about at the end. So this is think of this as like a valuable training, and this will be valuable. It will be worth your time. However, if you want to really get the most out of this, if you are like, yes, this resonates with me, then you'll see at the end, I have a full mental health course that you'll be able to purchase at the end of this presentation, okay? But today it's all about how can parents better connect, better understand, better support their son's mental health journey. So let's go over just the problem that we are facing right now. We are going down. As a society, we are going backwards. Mental health is not improving, it is declining. So what does that actually mean? Well, that means that if you just leave it to chance, if you leave it to culture, if you leave it to society, if you leave it to your sons to figure it out, then they're going to go backwards. They're going to get worse, okay? They're not going to figure it out. Why do we know this? Because they aren't figuring it out. Okay, 1 in 5 teens now struggle with anxiety or depression. Boys in particular often exhibit emotional struggles as anger or withdrawal, making it even harder to identify. Well, I think he's okay. He doesn't really talk to me. Yeah, he's quite angry. He's isolated. He goes into his room. 2 problems arise from this. 1, we think that that's just the normal boy experience. But if we know that the normal boy experience now is anxiety and depression, okay, that's what's become normalized, then we need to intervene. We need to have the strategies. We need to understand what's going on. We can no longer just go, well, I was kind of like that as a teenager too, and I figured it out. The world is a different place now. Okay, it is not the same place as it was 20 years ago, 30 years ago when you guys were growing up. It is a very, very different world. So we can't just hope that, well, I figured it out and I had this, and maybe you guys don't really understand how you figured it out as well. Like maybe you got lucky. Maybe you didn't figure it out, right? Maybe you still are struggling. So we need to really understand that just because it's a normal experience that teenage boys are going through right now, normal is not healthy. Okay, if you ask me, I'm a parent, I've got a son, do I want my son to have a normal experience right now? 100%, I do not want my son to have a normal experience right now, because normal is depression and anxiety. Okay, and loneliness. So loneliness precedes depression. So if your son is lonely, doesn't have friends, isn't spending time, I want to make a point early on. Playing video games with their friends, being online with their friends, whilst it is normal, it is not healthy. Okay? Yeah, but at least he's getting... No. Okay? Foster in-person connection and in-person relationships. Oh, he doesn't want to. Cool. When did we start taking our directions as parents from what our children want to or do not want to do? It is completely irrelevant what they want to do. If you are leading them and you are leading them to a healthy place, that is what matters. Okay, you need to be able to self-reflect as a parent and go, am I actually leading them to a healthy place? Because if you're not, great, apologize, You're not going to get it perfect every time. You're going to get it wrong. Apologize, make amends, change course. But if we keep going down this same path of, well, my kid doesn't want to, or my kid wants to, and that's how I'm going to parent, I mean, this is not the group for you. This is not the philosophy that I live by. If you're immediately like, well, I disagree with that, you can turn this training off. You can leave the group, because this is about empowering parents to lead their children. And what that means is, and in particular young men, what that means is you are going to do things that your kids do not want or do not like, okay? And that is the role of a parent. That's your number one role. You are a leader. So if you're sitting here going, well, I completely disagree with that, you can leave. Nothing that I will say will have any relevance to you, because this training and all the other trainings in my program are designed to say, hey, you're the leader. Here's the information. You empower yourself to make the right decision with the information that I present. Again, based off of my experience, based off of the research, and based off of the strategies that have worked inside the Prince to King mentorship for over 4 years now. Okay, so boys, normal right now is lonely, anxious, depressed, right? And parents are feeling disconnected and unsure of how to help. So if that's you, if you're open to my ideas, you're open to my philosophy, and you are like, well, I do feel disconnected from my son and I don't know how to help, great, you are absolutely in the right place. You are going to get a lot of value out of this training and the full course on mental health that I'll touch on at the end, okay? So this is where we're at. There's another great book that I'm reading, and I'll put together a training on this as well, called The Boy Crisis. And that really goes into, like, our young men are not good. That's the summary. Not good. Not doing well at all. In no metric are they doing well. Okay, so this metric that we're going to talk about is going to be mental health, mental illness. All right? So the concept of disconnection. This is the root cause of many challenges that your teenage son is going through right now. It is this idea of disconnection. All right? Mental health challenges often stem from disconnection in these key areas: relationships, purpose, values, nature, community, technology. Okay? A massive, massive disconnect from these things. And if we can, as parents, foster these connections and figure out a way to help our sons become more connected to positive relationships, a deeper purpose, good values, nature, community, and technology, which I'll address at the end, then we can start to really lead and impact our sons down the right path, down the healthy path, away from this sick normal and towards this healthy abnormal. It's now abnormal to be healthy, right? So we want them to be healthy. We want them to have good connections in their lives to these things. And I've been there. I've been in this place of deep disconnection. I got diagnosed with depression and anxiety at 20 years old. I had a great upbringing. My parents loved me, right? But all of these things now, unfortunately, are not enough to allow boys to figure it out, because society has become so sick. And so figuring it out now typically looks like, well, how do I fit in with a sick society? And we fit in with a sick society by also becoming sick. So it's really important that we have you as parents leading the way for your sons, for the next generation, to say, okay, shit, let me take stock here. How healthy am I? How connected to relationships, purpose, values, nature, community, technology am I? How connected am I to these things? Okay, I'm not. Wow, okay, I need to start to live in alignment with a healthier me and a healthier future, so that my son can see me living my life this way and will then follow. A big piece that parents, it's a really uncomfortable truth. A really uncomfortable truth. But I tell parents all the time in the Prince to King mentorship, reflect on your own life. Do you want your son living the life that you are currently living? Like, would you be proud of him? Would you be happy if this was the life he was living? And if the answer is yes, great, keep going. If the answer is an uncomfortable no, then you have work to do, not on your son, but on yourself. Your son is going to be a great mirror to the areas that you yourself are not free in. So if your son is constantly triggering you and you're getting upset by something and it's making you emotional, okay, that is because he is reflecting back a piece of you that you are not comfortable with, that you're triggered by. Okay, you're seeing yourself in him. So when you heal that within you, you heal the relationship with your son. So let's start with disconnection from relationships. Boys often feel isolated even when surrounded by people. Societal norms teach boys to suppress emotions, making it harder to connect. Okay, a big piece that your sons are going through in these teenage years is a deep level of insecurity. And so what do we do when we're insecure? We try to fit in. What do we do when we try to fit in? We try to make ourselves into people that we are not so that we do not get shunned by the community. So even when they're surrounded by people, even when they've got friends, there can be a real sense of loneliness because it's not there can be a real sense of loneliness because it's not their real self. So if I'm showing up and I've created a mask, I've created a character that I need to play in order to fit in with the people around me. No matter how much these people tell me that they love me, no matter how much these people might embrace me, it doesn't matter because they're not embracing the real me. They're embracing the character. And I know subconsciously, not consciously, I know subconsciously that this isn't really me. And I'm deeply afraid of getting vulnerable enough. And again, this is going to be the messages that we feed to young men in particular. This is why men struggle the most with this, is because we tell them to bottle up their emotions, not share what's going on. But what it is it's a lack, a disability or a lack of the skill set required to step into vulnerability to say, this is who I am. This is what I'm actually like, and then we start to attract in and surround ourselves with people who accept us for who we are. I was working with a young man just recently, 15 years old, and we got talking about anime. He really likes anime, which is like Japanese cartoon. I also really like anime. And we got talking and he's like, wow, I don't think I've ever told anyone this. And I said, what do you mean? Like, you don't talk to your friends about anime? It's like, no, I'm too afraid of being judged for liking it. So it's like, okay, here's this young man, very, very vulnerably sharing with me that he likes anime and that the people around him, his friends, have no idea. So in here, he is a great example. He's surrounded by friends, he's surrounded by loved ones, but because he is too afraid to step into this vulnerable place and share who he is, it doesn't matter how many people are around him, he's going to feel disconnected from them. He's going to feel isolated. He's going to feel lonely. All right? And understanding these struggles is the first step in helping them reconnect. Because if you can empower them to lean into their authentic selves, right, then they will start to actually develop really good relationships. What do parents typically do, right? You need to be this, you need to be that, you need to be this. We unconsciously, and not from a malicious place, it's from a place of love, we put our shit onto them. You need to be more like this, you need to be more like this, right? Instead of looking at them and going, well, who's my son? Who is my son? Who's the individual that my son is? Okay, what are the healthy things that I need to nurture? And what are the unhealthy things that I need to help him work on, right? It's a really difficult balance, really difficult. Disconnection from purpose. This is humongous. This is the biggest thing for young men. Ask your son, where do you see yourself when you're older, right? Who do you want to become? Okay, it doesn't necessarily need to be the what, but the who. Without this meaningful engagement, boys often feel aimless and unmotivated. Men need purpose. They need it. If your son doesn't have one, your number one goal is to help foster purpose in his life. When I was growing up as a teenager, I was able to do a lot of difficult things because I had purpose. I had a goal. I wanted to be an AFL footballer. I wanted to play basketball. So all of my decision making was filtered through my purpose. Do I want to go to this party Saturday night before my game? I do want to go, but will I know because my purpose holds me in making good decisions, right? Do I want to have a drink with my friends? Maybe not really. Why? Because my purpose. I don't really want to have a drink right now. Instead of fighting like the desire, I didn't have to fight the desire. I had no desire. Why? Because I had a purpose. wasn't until I left high school, my purpose disappeared. I didn't get drafted into the AFL and I didn't go play basketball in America. That then, oh yeah, give me the drinks. Let's go drinking. What are we doing tonight, boys? What bar are we going to? What club? Right? Let me start to message girls. Let me spend all my time on video games. Let me watch Netflix. I had no purpose. I had nothing to keep me motivated. I didn't know where I was going. So it was like, well, I'm not going anywhere I don't know. Right? Oh, I'll figure it out later. No, we need to figure this out now. Modern pressures focus on grades or performance, leaving little room for self-discovery. We're trying to just put everyone in a box, like I just said on the last slide. The amount of parents I speak to who know that their kids aren't academic, right? Who know that like this isn't what they're going to do for the rest of their life, but force them and push them and put a really high emotional toll on their kids because of this, where like they leave school feeling depressed, anxious, like they're unworthy, like they can't do anything, like they're stupid, all because they can't memorize subjects that they have no interest in, and the learning model is 100 years old. That's it, and we haven't made any improvements to it or any changes to it. But I also hear those same parents go, yeah, I just want him to try hard. It's like, well, okay, you want him to try hard, but why are you putting such an emotional pressure on him to perform, right? Again, this balancing act, it's really difficult. It's not easy. It is a hard thing to get right, which is like, okay, I want to foster hard work. School is a place that you can foster that hard work in. However, I don't want him to feel so much pressure and so much anxiety that he gets performance issues, right? That he develops a really negative self-voice, because from the age of 5, we start marking them and grading them and comparing them to everyone else. From 5 years old, we start doing that until they leave at 18. And then we say, why are you depressed? Why are you anxious? We just spent 13 years of my developmental life grading me against my peers. How else would I end up here? Right? So we need to allow room for self-discovery. Do your sons have mentors? Are they working on self-discovery? Do they have a purpose? Are they spending time on the things that really matter, which is this stuff? Or do they get home from school, feel pressured to do homework, sit down, procrastinate because it's not really what they want to do, get yelled at by their parents, finally do it, get it done, not really for themselves, but for other people. They're not learning to self-regulate. They're not learning to self-author their own lives. They're learning to do things for other people. Okay, so this connection to purpose is critical. If you give a man a purpose, he will climb over broken glass to achieve it. One of my favorite quotes. My final example on this slide is in World War II, when all the men were off and then the women started doing the jobs around the home and around like going to work and picking up because all the men had left. What ended up happening was these men that were in hospital beds, in comas, that were really sick, were paralyzed, like unable to get out of bed, they started to wake up. They started to go and drive the ambulances, go and drive the fire trucks, because it was like these men had no purpose before. And then they found a purpose in like, well, shit, I need to step up and help society here. And so there's this really awesome analogy of all these men stepping up and going and doing these difficult things when previously they were bedridden, right? And that's really key for young men to find this purpose. This one's massive, especially in the rise of social media. So often I hear parents talk about how their sons are acting out values that they've never exhibited themselves. And it's like, okay, well, where did those values come from? Social media and the people around them. We hear cliches all the time. You are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Look at your son's friends. Okay, are they driven, motivated, good people, kind-hearted, therefore and good friends, or are they not good people? Are they unmotivated, lazy, smoking weed, trying to drag your son down? Okay, if it's the latter, you as a parent absolutely can remove those people from your kids' lives. You have to do it in a very careful way where you're not seen to be doing it, but there are definitely little tips and tricks that you can go about navigating how you can start to put good people in your son's life and get rid of the bad people. Because if he's surrounded by those people, if he's surrounded by 4 drug dealers, if he's surrounded by 4 lazy people, if he's surrounded by 4 drop kicks, if he's surrounded by 4 people who skip school, guess who he's going to be? He's going to be the 5th, okay? Just like if you surround him with 4 hard workers, 4 athletes, 4 academics, 4 good people, right? 4 kind people. Guess who he's going to be? The 5th, okay? So that's really important to his friends, and that's what's going to drive his values more than anything you can do. The moment he steps out of the home at 13, 14, you hold very little impact around the values now, okay? So you have to make sure that the people around him get a mentor. Guys, I run a program. It's called Prince to King. If you haven't already, reach out to me. Let's discuss it. We have over 200 boys come through the program. Okay? Almost 100% success rate for those young men. All right. It is a very good program, and it is one of the most important things that we no longer have for young men is the mentor. Okay. So what they do have instead is this great thing that you've all bought to your sons, right? Because they didn't have $2,000 to go and buy this. You bought it for them. Okay. And guess what they do on this? They spend all their time distracting themselves. They spend all their time looking up to really, really poor role models. Okay? And so that's where their values are coming from. We've created a app, multiple apps, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, where they reward bad behavior. So the most popular people online are not good role models. And that's where they're going. So this is why it's so important that you start to reconnect your sons to intrinsic values that bring clarity and direction, that help them become the man that you want them to be, that you know how much time they're spending online. Go and buy them a flip phone. Get rid of the iPhone. Here you go, mate. Here's your Nokia. You get bullied at school. Okay, explain to them why we don't do things for the opinion and validation of others. But if you then fold, it's like, what are you teaching them? Yeah, we do things for the opinion and validation of others. That's what you're teaching them. So go buy a flip phone. Call all your friends' parents, your son's friends' parents, and say, hey, I'm realizing the more and more that I look into it, the more and more time that my son spends online, the more depressed and anxious he will become. Not he might, he will become. Okay. So what I've done is I've bought him a flip phone. So my son will not be on Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok anymore until he turns 18, and then he can buy his own iPhone. And if he wants to do that as an adult, he can. But whilst he lives in my home, he's going to have a flip phone. He's going to have a Nokia. Okay? Listen, you parent your kids, however you want to parent. However, it'd be pretty cool if all of his friends are also on the same boat, right? Are you interested in me sending you some statistics of what I found? Like, they're still going to be able to text us. They're still going to be call us. Your son gets together with all of his friends to plan his weekends, to plan their attacks against you, right? To go, okay, well, if I tell my parent this and you tell them this, and if we're all doing this thing, we're all together on the same page here. Okay, we're all going to jump on at 6 o'clock and play PlayStation. And if one of us can't, we'll complain because we're missing out. And then I know that my parent will feel guilty about taking this away from me, so they'll fold and I'll be able to jump on with you. If you and the other 5 parents are all getting together going, hey guys, boys want to jump on tonight. I don't mind them jumping on for an hour, but let's all agree at 7 p.m. we'll all go and take everyone off. It's not that hard, guys. It is a very simple practices that you can help connect your son to good values, good people, and start to make real changes in your son's lives. Stop disempowering yourself. Stop making your son the leader in the household. All right? Disconnection from community and culture. Modern life often isolates teens from meaningful communities. Without a sense of belonging, boys feel lost and unsupported and will gravitate towards communities that accept them. And those communities are not always the best. As I said, why would a son who was brought up in a home where drugs are bad and out drinking alcohol is bad all of a sudden start doing drugs and alcohol? Because he couldn't find a community of friends that accepted him and didn't want to do that. And so he fit himself into a community that did. All right. So it's super important that you have access to these, that you help as a parent foster a really good community. The amount of times I hear parents say that they don't even know who their son's friends' parents are, I don't understand this. I can't understand this. And if your son is spending the most amount of time with these people, you should know what these people stand for. You should know if they're a good influence. Do they have an older brother or an older sister that's going to introduce them to pornography or introduce them to bad values? Right? Where do these things come from? Do they have parents that agree with the parenting style that you want to parent your kids with? Right? We need to stop leaving our kids' future, our kids' well-being, our kids' health up to chance. We need to take a very active role as parents and be like, cool, what's his parents like? Is he going to be at the party? Let me call John because I know him. Hey, John, I hear you having a party at your house. My son says that you're going to be there. Are you? You're not. Oh, you're overseas right now. Oh, you didn't even know that there was a party going on. That's interesting, right? So this community is really important. If you guys create it, your sons will fit in. I was really lucky. I played sport. There's so much community in sport. I got to know all my friends' parents really well because we were all very similar. The role of technology, right? Social media creates the illusion of connection, but often fosters loneliness and comparison. Like I said at the start, this is fake. This computer screen is fake. The video games, it's fake. They only leave you feeling more lonely. I lived it. I've lived it, guys. Okay, I'm the result of this. I got diagnosed with depression and anxiety at 20. Okay, real life connection and real life relationships. That's it. That's only foster that. Okay, only foster that as much as you possibly can. Excessive screen time leads to overstimulation and disconnection from real world relationships. Think about the rise in ADHD, the rise in depression, the rise in anxiety. All can be linked as one of the factors to technology. It's so negative if you can't tell my stance on this, okay? This is a really crucial area covered in the full course where we go into how to manage technology. All of these, I'm just kind of hitting on the surface right now, but the full course goes into the strategies and the solutions and activities and journal prompts that you guys can do. Last statement on the role of technology. You guys didn't have these. You didn't live through this. Your sons are living in an experiment gone horribly wrong. Okay? So what you do with that information will determine how your son gets on. Do you look at the experiment and say, I'm not going to fit in with this sick society? Or do you look at it and go, well, everyone else does it. Well, my son gets upset with me. Well, his friends do it. Again, that stops now. Okay? Because I'm giving you this information. I'm telling you that that is not conducive to raising healthy boys. You need to be having really difficult conversations. You need to be having really hard, like, hey, buddy, I know you're 16, 17 right now. You're going to be living in my house for at least 2 more years, probably a bit more. I need to admit to something that, like, I'm not super happy with how I've been parenting you. You know, I think I've made a lot of mistakes and I'm looking at the mistakes, and that doesn't make me a bad parent, doesn't make me a bad person, but there's definitely things that I can be doing better. But that starts with me addressing the areas and sitting in how uncomfortable that makes me feel, because it is an uncomfortable experience. And I'm realizing, like, I need to do a little bit better. Okay, so I'm going to start doing these things. I'm going to start creating some more boundaries, creating some more rules, creating some more guidelines. It's going to be a bit uncomfortable. I know that we're going to argue, maybe we might argue some more because you're not happy with this. But I just want you to know that I love you very much, and that I'm doing this because I love you so much. And that's why I'm doing it. It might not feel like that, but one day as an adult, you'll thank me. And that's the goal. As an adult, you'll thank me. Your teenage son will not. He's not going to be happy with boundaries and discipline. But when he gets older and the result of this childhood starts to bear fruit in his life and he starts to develop the awareness, his brain doesn't stop developing until 25. The frontal lobe does not stop developing until 25. There's your thing. I need to parent him until he's 25. And I need to make sure I put in place really good, healthy structures for him. Then when he gets to 25, it's like, oh, hey, I'm really thankful for that, because I see my friends now and I see my friends, and I knew their homes really well. They didn't have really a lot of guidelines and rules and discipline. And I know you and I argued a lot about it, but I'm really thankful for that, because look at my life now and look at theirs. I see my friends. And this is coming from experience. I'm now 30. I see it. My parents were very, very strict, but very, very fair. Okay, they could have probably done a bit more gentle parenting, a bit more on the emotional side, a bit more connecting, right? However, they nailed the discipline. Like me and my brother, we were disciplined. Okay, now as an adult, I am a disciplined adult. I go to the gym every day. I meditate every day. I get up at 4 a.m. every day. Okay, there are real world benefits to me being who I am because of my parents, not because of anything I did, right? My job's now to work through the trauma of the upbringing that we all get, we all have, right? But I need to stress the importance of parents being parents and teenagers being teenagers. Can't change that. Can't just like magically like not have a teenage boy who's upset with you. But if you try to do that, you will set him up for failure later in life. Okay, you want ice cream for dinner? Okay, have ice cream. You want to play video games all day? Okay, play video games all day. No, it's not how that works. So a vision for a reconnected life. So I want you guys to imagine the heaven. We've just painted a pretty grim hell, right? But I want you to imagine the heaven. I want you to imagine the benefits. I want you to imagine a world where your son is confident, resilient, emotionally healthy, connected to his family, friends, and community, living with purpose and aligned with his values. This is possible. This is very, 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 very possible. But we need to step away from what's normal. We need to step away from the things that we've touched on. We need to introduce the connection to these things that I've talked about. Okay? And what you can do is you can find this in the full course, Lost Connections, a mental health guide for parents of teenage boys. And what you're learning here is how to address the 6 key disconnections, practical strategies, activities, and journal prompts to support your son, tools to strengthen your relationship and foster emotional resilience. All right? And that price is $297. Okay? $297, that is the price of this program. All right? That is going to be, to clarify, $297 USD, because the platform that I'm hosting this on is in USD. Okay? So just quickly do the conversion rate at time of watching this. All right? So join today, guys. Take that first step to reconnecting with your son. Right now, this will be the early bird price, $297. I'll probably end up putting this up, and I'll have to redo this whole training when I do that. But just visit the classroom. It'll be next to this training. It'll be locked behind a paywall. Click it, join, and you will start to go really deep on all of these things that we've touched on today with the solutions to them as well, activities and journal prompts. Thank you guys so much for being here. And again, I see you. I want to end on a positive note. I've been quite blunt in today's training, and that's typically how I like to communicate. I like to communicate in a very maybe abrasive manner for some of you, but I want to say thank you. Thank you for getting to the end of this 34-minute training. It's clear that you are dedicated to your son's well-being. Like, it's clear you're in this group, you sort me out. Just don't forget it. It's easy to fall back into bad habits. It's easy to fall back into like, well, things are going well now, and we get complacent. But it's awesome that you guys are here. And together we can build stronger connections and brighter futures for our boys. Again, if we keep coming back to like, man, I want to do this for my son. I have a son, right? I would walk over broken glass. I would take a bullet. I would die for him. But the hardest thing is to actually live for him, to live a really good life, to live a healthy life, to break away from our own conditionings and patterns and bad habits. So you're here, and I want to thank you for showing up in this community. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this. I want to thank you for doing this for your sons. And hopefully most of you will go across, join the course, and start to really delve into this program that is going to help reconnect your son to these good values, to nature, to good relationships, to community, to values. And I'm going to be very practical in my approach and giving you guys solutions to those things. So thank you so much for being here.